Hey everybody, it's Joe Solari and I help authors build great businesses. This is day 3 that I'm doing this. Today we're going to talk about websites and microstories and the whole concept of this inside the ideas of Autoresponder Advantage, the membership site that I've set up to help authors to build their audience in alignment with the ideas of my book Advantage. I'm going to try and keep this one short and sweet. It's a smaller topic and frankly is not going to be a huge driver of traffic. But the idea being is you really do need to have establish a platform as an author. Your initial thing when you're getting started is to think like, well, I want to be like this other big author. I want to have a site that has all these things on it. You're imaginative, you're creative, that's all great. But you probably don't have the funds to do it, and you probably don't have the time to do it. And you certainly don't have an audience that's going to appreciate it at this point. So the whole idea of, build it and they will come should be set aside and really focus on what we're trying to do around the idea of this website. And I'm going to show you some shortcuts and some ways to do this that's going to be more cost effective and simple and get you back to writing. That being said, your website, when people do show up, we want it to be representative of what you're doing in your world, right? And the best way that I think that can be is for you to provide a little story, what I call a microstory. So let's kind of get into this and talk through this whole idea of what we're going to be doing here. Thing fired up here. So I have us here in the membership site so you can see this area, what we're up to. And really what I'm talking about is this whole idea of a couple thousand words that can really capture somebody and give them a solid taste of what your stories are going to be about. We want them to sample your writing. The sooner we can get them to sample your writing and to make a decision about that writing, that they like it or they don't, the easier it is going to be for us to bring them in and nurture them as a full-time reader and purchaser. Okay? So the idea is if they do find your website, that it does these things. It has a landing page with several thousand word story, something short and simple that has a beginning and a middle. And you really have to think about this from the perspective of somebody's going to drop on this thing. If it's like any website, they're likely going to bounce off that website in somewhere between 3 and 10 seconds. So you have that small, tiny window, right? This is like trying to capture somebody's attention on TikTok. That first sentence has to make them stop and pull them into that first paragraph. And the whole idea is that suddenly they find themselves at the bottom of that page because they've read so far. And what's at the bottom of that page? Well, we've set it up so that you've given them that kind of the beginning, the middle. They got to know what's going to happen next to the story. And there's a button. We're going to stop. We're going to interrupt a bit. And we're going to have them show some intent. To finish up reading the story, they're going to have to click through. And all this is going to do is it's going to send them to a second page. And I'm going to give you an example of this in a second that I've built in MailerLite. So the idea being, they click, they go to this, they get the last paragraph or two that finishes up the story, and they're like, oh, wow, that was awesome. I want more. And the next thing you drop into is your guide character, or whatever representative voice from your story world that's going to be coaching them along on this journey, introduces themselves to the reader and says, if you want more, then get the novella, but you're going to have to sign up for it. And we want to do this in a way that when it's done best, it's taking something from the story they just read, maybe something about that character, and using that to open up a loop that you're going to close in the novella so that there's this subconscious desire to know something more. And the way they're going to get that answered is the novella. And your guide character is highlighting that again. Hey, if you want to know what happens to the files that the hacker stole, you need to read this novella, right? And introducing them into this story world. The whole idea is not only is this a way that we're conditioning a reader, but when you get really meta about this, you should be thinking about this as how it's conditioning them to buy that first book, right? All of this should be anticipation and build up to why they're going to want to know this main character that you're going to be introducing them to, if it's, going to be a consistent main character, or the story world where there's going to be all these romances, like the small town concept, or this paranormal world, whatever it is that you're kind of using as your encompassing world for the series, you're going to want to use this to condition these people to start speaking and thinking in the language of that world. And it starts at this first page. Okay. So one of the things that I've said is that, let me just stop there for a second. And then when they do that, it's going to drop them into the cold sequence 01, which is designed to get them to read the novella and show intent there. And next video, I'm going to go through that step by step to help people understand that whole concept. But so this is like simply what we're doing. But how would that look on a website? Well, let me go over here to MailerLite, and I'm showing you this in a mobile version. And I think it's important to think mobile, right? Because if you're doing this and let me back up here so that we have this set up right. Sorry. So as you can see here, I've set up 2 pages. And the first is the website landing page, and then the novella sign up. So, here's what it would look like in desktop. This is all done inside MailerLite. So if you're doing this kind of bare bones, you don't even really need a domain name. I would suggest that you go get a domain name. You also pay for MailerLite, and you get the domain name set up. So this is showing on your domain, and that domain being something associated with your author or the story world. But even if you don't, if you're just really going to do this raw, you would set this up on MailerLite. You could do this in their free platform. It would not have your domain. And it would look like this if it was on a website page, or it would look like this on your phone. And I was saying, really think about how this is going to look on mobile, because a lot of times when people are going to be doing this taste test, it's going to be on a mobile device. They've got some free time. Maybe they found you through some link, and they do have time to digest this really short story that you're going to provide them. So the way it would work, I'm using this kind of suspense thriller hacker thing. You would read through this. They get to the end. It has a cliffhanger about 2/3 of the way. They want to read on. They read on. Then the story would continue with an open loop that is dealt with in the novella. And then you would have a introduction of this guide character and a place to sign up. Now, again, this is really raw. It's just to show you how this whole thing would work. But you would then enter your, stuff, and it would then kick them into that sequence. So this is kind of how you would set something like this up. So, with this all in mind, what if you're a new author and you're just getting going? Get this really simple thing set up. Don't expect a lot of signups through it, but it is there. And then get on to writing. Your website is going to be a small portion of the cold traffic that you're going to be able to generate, unless something is coming there. There's so many websites out there. More so where you're going to see your traffic coming into is direct to the novella, via promotions and newsletter swaps and lead generation you may do. But having this here establishes your author presence in a way that is really simple and focused on what we want to do, which is to find out if the reader is interested in reading more of your work. Now, what if you're an existing author that's already got a website set up and you spent a bunch of money and you've got one of these kind of regular websites that's got pictures of your books, and maybe you got a swag store and all that stuff? Great. I'm not telling you to tear that down. Leave it how it is. But maybe what you do is you do some testing and you build a microstory and you have it on a landing page set up like how I've shown, and send some lead gen to it. Do some Facebook ads that send some traffic to that, and see if you start getting some signups, and see how that compares against just sending traffic to your website, which gets you more signups. Because if it works and you're seeing good results from this, which I'm pretty sure you're going to see, you're going to have a higher sign-up rate when you give somebody a taste test, and you've really focused your energy on writing a great story that's going to compel them to want more. Then you can take that and move that to your homepage and make that more prominent on your homepage. Because once you get a reader coming there that knows you and has bought your books, they know what they're looking for. But if you're looking for someone that is new, you could have it set up this way. And depending on what you're using for your web hosting and your actual service provider, sometimes they have the ability to A/B test homepages so that you could do that and then track how things end up with your sign up. You can also have some where they, you can split traffic to different sites just to test things out. I guess that's essentially an A/B test. But the idea is having a way to see if this is going to help you get some flow through traffic through your website. Because if it is a website set up this way, this kind of stuff gets you more SEO because it is different and it is tied to long form content. So that's kind of it for this episode. I think that this isn't a huge part of what we're trying to do with the whole program. We're really going to be looking at doing more with the autoresponders and bringing that traffic in a different way. So we'll dig more into that the rest of this week. But I just wanted to touch on this for those of you that are thinking about what do I do with my website. I don't want a new author to get too absorbed in building a big, beautiful website, because what we want to do is set something up that works well, get focused on what is going to make the big difference, which is writing really good stories and copy and having a good system for developing a refined signal for that first launch. And for those of you that have been inside the membership site already, what you're going to see is as I'm going through this stuff and talking through these things and people are asking me questions, it's highlighting to me holes that are there and I'm filling in those holes. So for example, there's going to now be 2 warm sequences. One is if you're an established author and have that first book out. But then the second one is for those that are truly starting from zero, having a sequence that's designed to prep for that first launch. Okay? Because it's a different situation. We're not just trying to get somebody to buy that first book. We have to get them to wait around for the opportunity to buy that first book, right? So that puts further stress on this system because it not only has to sell them, but it has to keep them engaged until that sale opens, right? And the better we do that in that sequence, the better that launch is going to go, because you're going to not only have the right signal, but you're going to have more amplitude in that signal. So with that, you can see down below here at courses.joesolari.com/autoresponder signed up. You can sign up for that right now. There's about 25 people that have signed up. Again, it's not open to the public yet. This is just opened up to folks that are in my Advantage Mastermind and folks that are in the Treat Your Writing Like a Business group. That's why I'm just showing these videos here. I'm really trying to get this stuff, pressure tested by authors like you that can come back to me and say, hey, this isn't working. You missed this. I'm not really sure what to do with that. And I want you to do that. You're not going to hurt my feelings. You're only going to make this thing better. And quite frankly, you're going to get some of my time to figure this stuff out for you specifically. So with that, I'm going to wrap this up.